practice together, I want to say a few words tonight about suffering. Pleasant topic, huh? But I think one of the most difficult things, of many difficult things, about the experience that we're all communally having all over the world right now is the confrontation with suffering, that we are hearing about it daily, many times daily, sometimes, you know, seeing images and stories of people who are very ill, people who are dying, the valiant people who are in there taking care of them and exposing themselves to danger, and the suffering that they witness in the process of doing that. So suffering is all around us right now, maybe even more than we're used to, and that is hard, and it wears on us day after day to be confronting this. And you know, normally our reaction to suffering is to run, right? To find something else to focus on, to distract ourselves, to take solace in substance abuse or even addiction. This is what drives people to addiction sometimes, just fleeing the reality of suffering. So, you know, we're in a pandemic, and we have these images of suffering coming at us constantly, almost constantly now. And I think, again, that is a struggle for a lot of us. But you know, suffering is the first of the Four Noble Truths taught by the Buddha. He said that suffering is a fact of life, plain and simple. And it's an inevitable part of being born into a physical body, whether it's human or other than human. But lucky for us, fortunately, the Buddha offered a path or a way to deal with suffering, and a way to work with our minds so that we can stay calm and stable amid the myriad forms of suffering that we encounter, especially now. So I think that meditation is a wonderful tool for right now, for these times, for any times, but especially for these times. So I'm really, again, very pleased that some of you would take time out from your evening to practice together with us. And I hope it'll be of use to you. So the way that the Buddha taught to help us deal with suffering is the practice of meditation. There's other parts to his path, but meditation is the foremost of that. And for me, the purpose of meditation is really twofold. First, we practice to create peace in ourselves. There's many benefits of meditation physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and those are all they've been documented by clinical research, the positive effect of the practice of meditation. As we purify our minds, we become calmer and less reactive, more able to make wise choices, clear choices of our actions, and to move through the world in a way that is non-harming. And that takes us directly to the second purpose of meditation, which is that we don't meditate only for ourselves, we meditate for the whole world. When we go out into the world with a mind that is purified by our meditative practice, we can make what we call skillful choices, non-harming choices. We can handle whatever arises with kindness and with wisdom and awareness. And so we're sharing peace, our own inner peace that we've created, and we're sharing that with the rest of the world. I've also been thinking lately in these times of pandemic about breath and breathing, because that is so much a part of what is disturbing, I think, about this particular virus and this particular illness. The images of people who are having trouble breathing, who are struggling to breathe, whose lungs are so severely compromised that they need a ventilator to help them, a machine to literally breathe for them. And then the panic that arises when there's not enough ventilators. So all of this, you know, underscoring how fundamental breathing is and the breath is to our aliveness. So this evening, I want to lead a practice of what is called Anapanasati. That is an ancient word which basically translated means mindfulness of breathing. Anapanasati, or mindfulness of breathing. This is a practice that kind of falls in the category of samatha meditation, the larger category of samatha, sometimes known as samadhi meditation, which means tranquility or concentration. So when we practice this, we're concentrating on the sensation of breath and breathing in the body. It's very simple, plain and simple. And I think that this is a beautiful practice because you can really practice it anywhere. You have your breath, it's portable, it's always with you. You don't need any special equipment. You don't need a secret mantra to chant. You don't need anything special really, other than the ability and the intention to focus and watch and observe the process of breathing. And I want to just say for a moment that, most of what I teach is informed by my path of Buddhism, but this really is a universal practice. I know that I'm sure that we have people in our Sangha, our community tonight, from many different spiritual paths, and I don't think this is incompatible with any of those paths. Hopefully it'll come across that way to you. We all breathe. All humans breathe, all animals breathe, even trees, plants, grasses. Their process is different from ours. They're taking in carbon dioxide and breathing out oxygen, but it's that cyclical giving and receiving that all living things go through. So, I'm also interested in breath on a physical level because of my training in mental health and what we know about how the breath connects with the nervous system, with our neurological being. When we can watch our breath and be present with our breath with a calm awareness, it helps balance the two halves of the nervous system, the two branches of the nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic nervous system is what drives our fight or flight response. And when we get aroused and feeling threatened or feeling upset, we tend to breathe shallowly. Sometimes you'll see people who are getting very anxious and they're sucking in air, sort of inhaling sort of desperately. That's the fight or flight reaction being expressed in the breath. And so conversely, the parasympathetic nervous system is what helps calm down the nervous system. And that's usually connected to the exhalation, the out breath. So when we're breathing calmly, nice long exhalations, that arouses the parasympathetic and helps bring the nervous system back to homeostasis, so to speak, a place of rest. So I'm going to be leading us for probably, it's 8:20 now. We'll do about 15 minutes or so. I want to leave time for sharing at the end in case that's of interest. This will be a sort of a basic breathing Anapanasati practice, and you'll hear my voice at various points through the practice. I follow the example of one of my teachers long ago. Her name was Ruth Dennison. She was a Vipassana teacher, very, very well known and beloved. And she was infamous really, for talking all the way through the meditation practice, dropping in little hints here and there, and sometimes driving people crazy because she wouldn't shut up. Some people, miss that silence during the meditation, but I don't take it to that extreme, but I do like to sort of, drop in at times to offer some guidance. So let's begin if we're ready. I'll give you just a minute to sort of wiggle around. If you want to change your position a little bit, get somewhere where you're comfortable and yet alert. What we're kind of looking for in meditation is a posture that would be comfortable, at ease, and yet awake. We like to call it sometimes a posture that feels to you some kind of sitting position that feels like dignity or nobility. And usually that translates to a nice upright spine. Not rigid, not like a soldier, but upright and, as I say, awake. So however you need to get to that position. And let's just take a few minutes, and we still have our eyes open at this point. Let's just take a few moments to kind of arrive, so to speak, in your sitting posture, in this place where you are sitting, this physical space, in this moment in time. And also, of course, in this lovely little community where we are together and yet apart. So basically, you're arriving at your experience of the present moment. And I want to start, before we close our eyes, with just a really, really brief little body practice you can do right there sitting. You don't have to do anything fancy. This is just a way of connecting with the physical body. So we're going to put one hand on top of your head, either hand, doesn't matter. And the other hand will go somewhere around your heart center, right there, if you can see. Just feeling that connectedness there with mind and heart, those two chakras, two energy centers of the body. And then we will take the hand that's on top of your head, move it to the heart, and the heart hand will move down to your belly, your abdomen, an inch or two below the navel. This is the solar plexus, also known as the hara, the dantian, different traditions have different names for it. Also a chakra, energy center of the body, and this is actually the physical center of gravity of your body. So just feeling those points in the body. Okay. And then you can relax your hands to your lap and let them be wherever they're comfortable, in your lap, on your knees. We start with our attention to the body in that way because the physical self, the body, is the first of the Buddha's 4 foundations of mindfulness. So it's a wonderful place to start our practice of awareness. And now you can, at your own leisure, when you feel ready, you can allow your eyes to close gently. If you prefer to keep your eyes open, if that's more comfortable, that's fine. You just lower your gaze, maybe down to the floor. Let the gaze become soft, unfocused. So with eyes either soft or closed. You might now become aware of other aspects of your present moment experience. Not just the body, but beyond the body. The space around you, the air in front of you, behind you, above you, all around you. And there might be sounds in the environment. Sounds coming and going, appearing, disappearing. Feeling the stillness in the body, the settling in. The groundedness. And then we're going to begin to focus our attention on the breath. And throughout this entire practice session, we won't be changing the breath in any way, not trying to make it deeper or longer or shorter, just letting it be exactly what it is this evening, in this place, in this time. And our role is to be the observer of the breath, allowing the breath to come and go, flow in and out. Sometimes the breath is discernible or noticeable at the solar plexus, that place in the belly, abdomen. It might feel something like a balloon expanding as it fills with air. It's breathing in, and contracting or shrinking as it empties of air on the out breath. Another place you might be able to notice the breath is at the chest or the rib cage. Sense of expansion and contraction in that area. Or sometimes the breath is most noticeable at the tip of the nose, the nostrils, where the air flows in the nostrils and back out. So wherever your attention lands, whether it's belly or chest or the nostrils, notice now the quality of the breath. Notice that it flows in and out on its own rhythm. The breath has no form or shape, but you can feel it as it flows in and out. You might also be aware of the exchange happening as you take in oxygen from the air surrounding you. And as you breathe out, you release what you no longer need, and it dissipates into the space around you. So it's a connection, it's a link between your body and the space around you, giving and receiving, breathing in, breathing out. As your attention settles on the breath and your concentration grows more refined, you begin to notice more details about the act of breathing. You'll notice there is a pause at the end of the in-breath. There's a moment of quiet and stillness. And out of that space comes the urge to exhale. And at the end of the exhale, another pause. And out of that pause arising the need to inhale. Just allowing the breath to come in and out on its own accord. This beautiful physical sign of our aliveness, our connection with all living beings. The very breath that has sustained our aliveness every moment. There will inevitably be some thoughts that bubble up to the surface of the mind, pulling us away from observing the breath. It's natural. It's the nature of the mind. So when we notice that there is thinking, just thinking, as soon as we notice that, we gently, compassionately bring the attention back to the breath. And we may do this returning to the breath 100 times, 1,000 times in one sitting. It's all right. It's natural. We just simply redirect the attention and the awareness to the breath. Noticing the whole length of the in-breath, beginning, middle, and end. And then the pause. And then the whole length of the out-breath, beginning, middle, end, and the pause. As your awareness grows more refined and the concentration more pointed, one pointed in the breath, we can sometimes be aware of how the breath comes and goes on its own. And it's not so much a sense of I am breathing as it is this breath is breathing itself, or simply breathing is happening. Not so much personal identification, just the bare process of breathing in and breathing out. Feeling the calmness in the body as the breath flows in and out. And working gently, compassionately with the restlessness of the mind, directing it back, gently bringing it back over and over to the in-breath and the out-breath. So in a moment, you are going to hear the sound of a bell, 3 tones of the bell. And allow yourself, if you can, to be aware of the beginning of the sound and the rich middle of the sound, and then the disappearance of the sound. So I'm going to end our practice this evening in a traditional Buddhist way, which is to share the merits of our practice with other beings. As I mentioned earlier, one of the primary goals and uses of meditation is to help other beings. So we don't keep the benefits of the practice just for ourselves. We send them out to other suffering beings, all suffering beings in the world. So I'm going to chant just a very short verse, which is repeated 3 times in the Pali language, something like Sanskrit. And then I will tell you what it says in English, very simple. Bhavatu Sabbe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabbe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabbe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And just let yourself come back into awareness of the whole body again. And as you feel ready, your eyes can blink open. Coming back into the physical space where you've been sitting, back into connection with this lovely little community of your fellow meditators. And hope everyone's all right. Feeling okay. Terry, I think maybe can we unmute, and if anybody would like to share anything